With the changes to the food pyramid, there also came a whole social media campaign regarding milk consumption. The Trump administration released ads on social media encouraging people to drink whole fat milk. The ad showed President Trump drinking milk, the Health and Human Service Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy, and a few others. They want people drinking high fat whole milk, but there are critics. So, Cootie, what's your take on this whole fat milk consumption, and should we be doing that at this time?
So here's what I'll say about whole fat milk. The state that most people are in right now, especially when it comes down to heart health, it's not the best proposition. Again, we talked about it in a previous segment about some of the influencers and what it is that's actually influencing, these recommendations that come from the federal government. And, again, not a conspiracy theorist. I don't wear tinfoil hats or anything like that. But, simply put, when you look at what America's agriculture is and the promises to boost advantageous situations for our farmers and whatnot, telling people not to drink cow's milk when you got farms full of, cattle can be counterproductive. Now, as far as health goes, you definitely, saturated fat is not good for you. So in that regard, if you wanted to drink cow's milk or goat milk, whatever the case may be, I would say go with the 2% fat option as opposed to the full fat option as much as you can. It won't necessarily destroy you if you indulge in whole milk from time to time. But if you're somebody who's a frequent milk drinker and you employ it in a lot of things that you like, your smoothies, your cereal, your oatmeal, that kind of stuff, you'd want to kind of cut that back, just give your body a chance.
And what is the chance that you're giving? What's the difference, the key difference between that whole fat and the low fat milk?
Your body processing it and your arteries, the health of your arteries. Mm-hmm. So blood pressure becomes a factor at this point. Cholesterol issues become a factor at this point. And again, I'll just remind folks that, again, I'm in my 50s. There was a time where eating out and eating processed and packaged foods was an exception. I mean, I was just talking about this the other day to a friend. I was like, remember when we used to be excited about eating at McDonald's? Because you'd watch it on TV all week. You'd be like, man, it'd be great to get some French fries and a Big Mac. And you'd go through all these things. Well, I hate to call it a brand, but you'd watch these fast food commercials, and that one time in like 2 weeks, you get a chance to go, and it was everything. Whereas now, even for people who are trying their best to keep their kids healthy, man, these kids got all kinds of options. It's one of these spots on every door. And if it's not going to be one, it's going to be the other. If it's not going to be the other, it's going to be the third. And so we're getting hit with this stuff all the time. And that's why it seems like we're a lot less healthy now than we were back then, because we ate more whole foods back then than we do now.
You mentioned kids, and I definitely remember those kid eat free nights. And that's when we used to go to those restaurants. But, now the schools are being allowed to serve whole milk again. Mm-hmm. Should parents be concerned about that? And what advice would you give parents when their child says, hey, Mom, for lunch, I had whole milk?
Yeah, I mean, parents should be concerned. Yes. I'm a big proponent in this era of localizing your efforts to change what's going on within your community. So banding with other parents, we have technology now, Facebook groups and things of that nature, where we can just say, okay, hey, as a coalition, we move that this should be the case. And I've seen PTAs where parents have been able to change the dynamic of what it is that is served in their schools or offered in their schools, or alternative snacks or vending machines that have, water and healthy options as opposed to just junk.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of other options, we know that African Americans, about 65 to 80% of us are actually lactose intolerant, right? Mm-hmm, right. So you mentioned earlier about how soy products and even almond products and all these other types of milk may not be the necessarily best options always, especially in high consumption. Mm-hmm. But what milk alternative would you suggest for them if they have lactose intolerance?
So any non-dairy milk alternative is going to be lactose free. So you can start there. There are some highly processed dairy milk products now that are lactose free as well. I would say if we're talking about a milk alternative that's not dairy, and you had to ask me, gun to my head, what's the one option you would suggest, Cootie? I would suggest pea milk. Pea milk, because I've already mentioned why I'm not big into soy and processed soy. That's pretty nefarious. Pea milk has the least amount of allergen interactions. Pea milk is the best, there's a scientific word that escapes me right now, but when it comes to a suspension, so when they add the vitamin D and the calcium, the one that holds that nutrition the best and makes it most bioavailable to you is pea milk. Pea protein is probably the cleanest source when it comes down to a liquid form or even an alternate form. So when we talked about getting your protein and we talked about smoothies and shakes and powders, most of the time those things come in the form of soy protein. But if you can find something that's pea protein, that's a more responsibly prepared alternative protein to animal source protein. So I would say pea milk is the one you want to go with. So with these alternative milks, it all depends on what your objective is, because that's what's going to make it on program for you. So if your objective is to say, mind your sugar, you're diabetic, lose weight, you want to stick with unsweetened almond or flax milk, pea milk again. If your objective is to have the most amount of protein, pea milk is definitely your best bet because it doesn't have soy and it's got about 4 times more protein than all the other milk alternatives. If you're not looking for any of those health advantages, but you don't want to do dairy, but you want your milk or your oatmeal or your coffee to have that creaminess that full fat milk would give you, that's where oat milk would come into play. But if you're trying to lose weight, oat milk, coconut milk are not your friends.
Oh, and coconut milk in the midst. Okay, it's called a stray. Now, in thinking about the food pyramid we just talked about in the last segment, and now milk, these campaigns seem literally almost a complete reverse of Michelle Obama's FIT campaign in schools. Mm-hmm. So what would you tell parents if they are now sending their child to school and the schools are following the guidelines of the Health and Human Services, right? Mm-hmm. What would you tell them? What are signs to look out for that if your kid is starting to come home and they're looking like this, it may be related to the diet and we need to go back to the drawing board?
I don't know if it's as quick as like a quarter of, 3 months they're drinking this and all of a sudden they're going to appear a certain way. However, if you notice that your kid's picking up weight, that would be a good time to analyze what it is they're eating, what they're snacking on, and what they're eating when they're not around you. And it is not going to be hard to figure out or find what it is that they're into. With me being a nutritionist and, all Mr. Holistic and all this kind of jazz, until my kid was out of my direct supervision in terms of what my kid was eating nothing but whole foods. Mm-hmm. Then my kid goes to, it might have been as early as preschool, and they would give them snacks. Then my kid would come home like, I like Nilla wafers, I like goldfish, these things just start coming back. And it's one of those things where, you try hard. You try hard to keep them from having too much screen time and keep them from having so many snacks that are off program. But at some point it's going to get to them. So what I would suggest to parents first and foremost is set the example yourself, make the healthy eating look good as a parent. So when I do it, my kid gets kind of jealous when I juice vegetables and eat these salads because I make them look good and they taste good. And if you need tips on that, just hit me up, DM me Dr. Hilton, and I'll give you recipes. But I make it look good. So my kid is actually into, so my kid's not feeling well. My kid will go, Dad, can we just have salad tonight? And that's just music to my ears. So set the tone first, give them every opportunity you can as a parent to win because you are the parent. So set them up. If you can prepare lunches for them, prepare lunches for them. If you can at least give them some healthy snacks, find out what they like though. Don't just force it on. Like even me, as a grown man, professional fitness person, if you were handing me asparagus and eggplant, I'd be like, yeah, I'm good. You know what I mean? So, right. But the things I know I like, and I make sure I overindulge in those. So give your kids healthy options that they enjoy.
You know what, Cootie Mac, you have given me so much to think about, not only for how I'm going to raise my little twins now and packing their lunches because I cannot cook. So when you say raw food, that's right up my alley. But I thank you for helping us unpack both of these topics today. And we look forward to having you back very soon.
I look forward to being back. And if you or anybody needs tips, just DM me across any socials at KUTIMACK. DM me Dr. Hilton, including you, Doc. And I'll give you recipes, whatever it is you're looking for.
Give us that handle one more time.
So it's KUTIMACK, my name, at Cootie Mac, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. You can find me.
you'll get a new follower. Thank you so
All right,
much.
now, thank you so much. Looking forward to doing it again.